Hey everyone, welcome back to 10 Reasons Why. Today we're traveling to a tiny kingdom high in the Himalayas, Bhutan. Often called the Last Shangri-La, it's a land of stunning mountains, colorful prayer flags, and ancient monasteries that seem to float in the clouds. Unlike most of the world, Bhutan measures success not in money, but in happiness, tradition, and harmony with nature. Let's dive into 10 powerful reasons why Bhutan truly feels like the last Shangri-La. In most parts of the world, progress is measured in numbers, GDP, stock markets, skyscrapers rising into the sky. But in Bhutan, hidden high in the Himalayas, progress is measured in something far more human: happiness. The story goes back to the 1970s, when the young king of Bhutan was asked about his country's economy. Instead of boasting about factories or exports, he simply replied, "Gross national happiness is more important than gross domestic product." With that single sentence, he changed the way the world looked at Bhutan, and perhaps the way the world could look at life itself. So what does this idea mean in practice? Imagine walking into a Bhutanese classroom. Children are not only solving math problems, they're also learning mindfulness, compassion, and respect for nature. Travel to a remote village, and you'll see people proudly wearing their national dress, gathering to celebrate age-old festivals with music, dance, and food. Visit the government offices in Thimphu, and you'll find that every new project must be evaluated, not just for profit, but for its impact on culture, environment, and community well-being. This philosophy makes Bhutan feel like the last Shangri-La, a place where values come before wealth. While other nations rush to modernize at any cost, Bhutan moves at its own pace, making sure progress does not trample happiness. World leaders have traveled here to learn about gross national happiness, curious to see how a small Himalayan kingdom dares to prioritize smiles over skyscrapers. And while Bhutan is not perfect, it offers a radical reminder that true development isn't about chasing endless growth, it's about creating a life worth living. In Bhutan, happiness is not a luxury, but a goal. It is built into the fabric of society, guiding decisions from the classroom to the parliament. That is why this tiny kingdom, tucked between mountains and clouds, feels less like a country, and more like a vision of a better world. One of the reasons Bhutan feels like the last Shangri-La is its breathtaking, untouched landscapes. More than 70% of the country is covered in forests, and the constitution itself requires that this number never fall below 60%. It's a promise to future generations: Bhutan will remain green, wild, and alive. As you travel through the country, you find yourself surrounded by nature at every step. In the north, the Himalayas rise like walls of white, their snow-capped peaks glowing pink at sunrise. In the valleys below, rivers rush through emerald fields, and tiny villages appear as clusters of colorful roofs surrounded by terraced farms. On mountain passes, strings of prayer flags snap in the wind, carrying blessings into the sky. The air feels different here, fresh, crisp, and almost sacred. Unlike many places where rapid development has scarred the land, Bhutan has chosen protection over profit. National parks cover more than half the country, providing safe homes for rare species like the black-necked crane, the takin, and even elusive snow leopards. Trekking through these forests, you don't just see nature, you feel like you've entered a living temple. Life in Bhutan is still closely tied to the land. Farmers rise with the sun, herders guide yaks across alpine meadows, and communities depend on the seasons for their rhythm. Nature isn't just scenery, it is the heart of Bhutanese identity. It's this harmony between people and the land that makes Bhutan's landscapes feel timeless. The mountains, rivers, and forests are not just beautiful backdrops, they are the very soul of the kingdom, and one of the reasons Bhutan is called the Last Shangri-La. In most countries, conversations about the environment are filled with worry, pollution rising, forests shrinking, and cities choked with smog. But in Bhutan, the story is very different. This small Himalayan kingdom is the only country in the world that is carbon negative. In simple terms, Bhutan absorbs more carbon dioxide than it produces. How do they achieve this? The secret lies in a promise written into their constitution. At least 60% of Bhutan must remain covered by forest, forever. Today, that number is closer to 70%. These forests act like giant lungs, pulling millions of tons of carbon out of the air each year. Add to that Bhutan's clean energy policy, using hydropower from its rivers instead of fossil fuels, and the result is a nation that actively heals the planet. Travelers often notice the difference the moment they arrive. The air feels crisp and clean, rivers sparkle with fresh mountain water, and even the capital, Thimphu, seems more in tune with nature than most cities. Plastic waste is rare, and big industries are tightly controlled to protect the environment. For Bhutanese people, this isn't just policy, it's part of their culture. Festivals often include tree planting, children learn environmental respect in school, and Buddhist teachings remind everyone that all life is connected. In a world racing toward industrial growth, Bhutan's choice to remain carbon negative feels revolutionary. It proves that a country can care for its people and the planet at the same time. This deep respect for nature is one of the reasons Bhutan truly feels like the last Shangri-La. High on Bhutan's cliffs and hidden in misty valleys stand some of the most extraordinary monasteries in the world. These aren't just places of worship, they feel like gateways to another realm. The most famous is Paro Taktasang, also known as the Tiger's Nest Monastery. Legend says that in the 8th century, Guru Pamungsambhava flew here on the back of a tigress to meditate and bring Buddhism to Bhutan. Today, the monastery clings dramatically to a sheer cliff, 3,000 feet above the valley floor. Reaching it requires a steep hike through forests and prayer flag-lined paths, but when you arrive, the view takes your breath away. Clouds swirl around golden rooftops, and the silence is broken only by the sound of monks chanting. It feels less like a building, and more like a vision from a dream. But Tiger's Nest is only the beginning. Across Bhutan, you'll find fortress like Dzongs and mountaintop monasteries where red-robed monks devote their lives to prayer. In places like Punakha Dzong and Trongsa Dzong, spirituality blends with architecture, creating spaces that are both majestic and serene. For the Bhutanese, these monasteries are not relics of the past, they are living centers of community and faith. Villagers gather here during festivals, families bring offerings, and travelers are welcome to witness centuries-old rituals. Standing in front of a monastery in the clouds, you can feel why Bhutan is called the last Shangri-La. These sacred places remind visitors that the spiritual world and the natural world are not separate, they are one and the same. Scattered across Bhutan's valleys and hilltops are massive fortress-like structures known as *dzongs. These buildings are at once monasteries, government centers, and symbols of Bhutanese identity. Their towering whitewashed walls, intricately carved woodwork, and golden rooftops make them look like castles pulled straight from a legend. One of the most stunning is Punakha Dzong, built at the meeting of two rivers. In spring, its courtyards are framed by blooming jacaranda trees, their purple flowers glowing against the white walls. Once the seat of Bhutan's kings, it still hosts sacred ceremonies that bring together monks, officials, and villagers in a dazzling blend of tradition and faith. Trongsa Zong, perched on a ridge, stretches dramatically across the hillside, while Paro Zong guards the valley with serene strength. Each one is unique, yet they share a style that has remained consistent for centuries. Even modern Bhutanese buildings are required to follow these traditional designs, with sloping roofs and colorful patterns, so the country's architecture feels timeless. For the Bhutanese people, dzongs are not just monuments. They are living spaces where monks chant prayers, children play in courtyards, and communities gather during festivals. Their walls have witnessed centuries of history, from invasions repelled to coronations celebrated. Standing before a dzong, you feel both the power and the peace of Bhutan. These architectural treasures are a reminder that in the last Shangri-La, beauty, spirituality, and governance exist side by side in harmony. Unlike most countries that welcome as many tourists as possible, Bhutan has chosen a very different path. The kingdom follows a policy called high value, low impact. That means only a limited number of visitors are allowed each year, and every tourist must pay a daily fee known as the Sustainable Development Fee. At first, this might sound unusual. Why would a country make it harder to visit? But in Bhutan, the goal is not mass tourism. The goal is protection. By limiting numbers, Bhutan ensures its sacred monasteries are never overcrowded, its pristine forests remain untouched, and its traditions are not overwhelmed by outside influence. This controlled approach means that every visit feels special. Imagine walking through the courtyards of Punakha Zong without crowds blocking the view, or hiking up to Tiger's Nest Monastery in near silence, with only the sound of prayer flags fluttering in the wind. In Bhutan, you experience authenticity, not over-commercialization. Locals also benefit from this model. The revenue from tourism goes directly into healthcare, education, and conservation projects, ensuring that the presence of visitors truly supports the people and the land. For travelers, this policy makes Bhutan feel even more like the last Shangri-La, exclusive, protected, and deeply respectful of its heritage. While other destinations struggle with over-tourism, Bhutan shows that less can indeed be more. In many parts of the world, traditions survive only in museums or history books. But in Bhutan, culture is not preserved behind glass, it is lived every single day. Walk through the streets of Thimphu or into a remote mountain village, and you'll see people proudly wearing their national dress. Men wear the gho, a knee-length robe tied with a belt, while women wear the kira, a brightly colored, ankle-length dress. These garments are not just for festivals, they are part of daily life, connecting modern Bhutanese to centuries of heritage. Festivals, known as sekis, light up the calendar. Entire communities gather at dzongs and monasteries to watch masked dances, hear ancient stories, and join in prayer. Monks in vivid costumes perform sacred dances that are both mesmerizing and meaningful, believed to bring blessings and drive away evil spirits. For travelers, attending a sechu feels like stepping back in time, yet for locals, it is simply life continuing as it has for generations. Bhutanese culture is also deeply tied to respect for nature and spirituality. Prayer flags flutter on every mountain pass, symbolizing blessings carried by the wind. Villagers share meals of red rice, cheese, and chilies, not in fancy restaurants but in family kitchens, where hospitality is as important as food. These living traditions remind visitors that Bhutan's identity is not fading, it is thriving. In the last Shangri-La, culture is not a performance for tourists, but a heartbeat that sustains the nation. In most capitals around the world, traffic lights are part of daily life, red, yellow, green, guiding endless streams of cars. But in Bhutan's capital, Thimphu, there are no traffic lights at all. It is the only capital city in the world where human hands, not machines, direct the flow of vehicles. Instead of stoplights, you'll find traffic police standing in small booths at intersections, wearing crisp white gloves. With sweeping, almost dance-like motions, they guide cars, buses, and motorbikes through the streets. It's a scene that feels both old-fashioned and charming, like stepping back into a slower, more human time. There was once an attempt to install a single traffic light in Thimphu. But the people of Bhutan didn't like it. They felt it was too cold, too mechanical, and it took away from the character of their city. So the light was removed, and the white-gloved officers returned, much to the delight of locals. For visitors, this tiny detail becomes unforgettable. Watching a traffic officer move cars with graceful gestures, while prayer flags wave nearby and mountains rise in the distance, you realize Bhutan doesn't just preserve its monasteries and forests. It even preserves its way of moving through daily life. This small choice makes Thimphu feel warm, human, and unique. In a world obsessed with technology, Bhutan reminds us that sometimes tradition works just fine. In Bhutan, spirituality is not limited to temples or festivals. It flows through everyday life, shaping how people live, think, and connect with the world around them. Buddhism is at the heart of the nation, and its presence can be felt in every valley, mountain, and village. As you travel through the country, prayer flags flutter from mountaintops, their colors carrying blessings into the wind. Villagers spin prayer wheels as they walk to work or tend to their fields, whispering mantras under their breath. Even in the capital, monks in red robes walk quietly through the streets, a reminder that faith and daily life are never far apart. Spirituality here is not about rituals alone, it's about a way of seeing the world. Nature is sacred, animals are respected, and harmony is considered more valuable than wealth. Many Bhutanese set aside time each day for meditation, believing that true happiness comes from inner peace, not material possessions. Festivals and ceremonies reflect this deep connection. From masked dances in Dizong courtyards to quiet prayers offered at cliffside monasteries, every tradition feels alive with meaning. For travelers, these moments are powerful, not as performances, but as glimpses into a culture that still places the soul above the market. This spiritual rhythm makes Bhutan feel timeless. In a world rushing forward, Bhutan moves inward, toward balance, compassion, and peace. It's one of the clearest reasons why Bhutan is known as the Last Shangri-La. For centuries, Bhutan remained hidden from the outside world. Tucked deep within the Himalayas, it was one of the last countries to open its borders to foreign visitors. Even today, the kingdom maintains a sense of mystery, quiet, isolated, and peaceful, as if it belongs to another time. Unlike many nations shaped by colonization or constant conflict, Bhutan has preserved its sovereignty and culture with remarkable care. There are no neon skylines, no sprawling highways, no chaotic rush of modern life. Instead, you'll find valleys where farmers tend fields as their ancestors did, villages where neighbors know one another, and cities where mountains stand as silent guardians in the distance. Peace is more than the absence of war here, it's a way of life. Crime rates are among the lowest in the world. Communities work together, bound by shared traditions and spiritual values. Travelers often remark how safe they feel, walking through towns at night or trekking through remote landscapes by day. This tranquility doesn't mean Bhutan is frozen in time. It has electricity, schools, and healthcare. But everything develops with care, never at the expense of harmony. It's progress on Bhutan's own terms. For visitors, this atmosphere feels extraordinary. In Bhutan, silence has a sound. The flutter of prayer flags, the murmur of rivers, the chants drifting from monasteries. It is a hidden kingdom where peace still feels possible, and one of the clearest reasons why Bhutan is known as the Last Shangri-La.